Thank you for joining us again. This is another Xaos video. This is about the world of Mechanika. So Mechanika, a lot of you are looking at things online wondering what Mechanika is. Mechanika is a parallel version of our Earth. It's a parallel version of our Earth that's based on steampunk and the work of H.P. Lovecraft. So what does that mean exactly? What we've done is we've actually created an alternate Earth where several thousand years ago, the old ones, which anybody that's familiar with H.P. Lovecraft are great alien beings of horror and destruction, actually physically landed on our Earth. They crash landed here and they started doing their horrible, horrible evil. We also had a group of creatures that are known as the Fae show up, which not exactly the best guys in the universe, but they were a better choice for people than the old ones were. And there was a great big war that lasted for a very long time. About 1,000 years previous to our game world start, which when you start playing the game, it starts at 1897. Those creatures, most of them just sort of disappeared and left. They call it the Great Exodus. But in that 1,000 years, people have built up brand new empires. This is what's called the Second Age, or the Age of Blood and Steam. People have reverse engineered the old one's technology called Black Tech and created steampunk items that we call Mechanika. You also have people that have mastered magic, which basically pulls the flux or energy from our world and actually uses it in numerous different ways. The other thing that's unique is the places and people that you know are still here for a point. Instead of having a George Washington that turned down the crown, in this world, he took it up, and our America is very different. We have a dwarven Mark Twain. Rasputin never died. He actually lived through his experience and actually got put back together, and he's known now as the Iron Monk, this huge steampunk sort of person who controls a lot of Russia. What Mechanika is it's our realization of how the world would be if things were much, much different. We have an area of Egypt that instead of being a desert is a huge rainforesty kind of area. We have a gigantic dam that was built that drained the Mediterranean and created a new area of land. Napoleon was never exiled, so we have a huge Napoleonic empire. We have a section where Dracula rules part of the Eastern European area. So it's a very different thing, but it's something that's recognizable. If you know anything about history, you'll be able to look at it and go, wow, that's how this varied from that. It is an alternate universe, but still based on our Earth. The other thing that's interesting about our world is the fact that it is constantly at war with these creatures that were sort of left behind. Imagine, if you've ever seen somebody pack from an apartment quickly and they leave things behind. That's what happened with the old ones in the Fae. They left a lot of their stuff behind, and it still echoes with our world. So there's shadows and horror and terrible things that are constantly occurring. There's areas of the world that are decimated and destroyed based on this war that occurred that never happened in our universe, but happened in this one. The Mechanika world is unique. It's full of races that are familiar from other fantasy games, but very different, and some races that never appeared in a fantasy game. It also uses people that you're familiar with, people like Sherlock Holmes, people like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but they're all different, they're all changed, they're all twisted based on the logic of H.P. Lovecraft. We don't just use his monsters, we've used his storytelling and his stories as a base, as a place to come from. And I think anybody that's familiar with his works will love it. Anybody that doesn't know his work but likes horror, they'll love this. Because this is a horror game. This is a setting of terrible and horrible things constantly occurring on an everyday basis. This is a world of tragedy. So if you're familiar with White Wolf games at all, this sort of kicks it up a notch. It takes it from sort of a PG-13 kind of horror to an NC-17 level horror. The other things that you'll notice about the game is it's completely customizable, so you can change things as you like. If you want more of this and less of that, you can easily do it. The core rulebook that's coming out, you'll be able to see that and adjust things on the fly. The other things that I think that you'll like is it's a game of constant movement and change. So we are going to be constantly releasing new updates, new powers, new perks, new flaws, all things that let you make your character what you want. If you want to play a mage who casts earth spells and uses a shotgun, you can do that. If you want to play a character who uses biomancy, which is one of our unique magical schools to blow people up, you can do that. If you want to use necromancy and resurrect the dead and use them as your own personal sort of little henchmen guys, you can do that. You can build whatever you want. If you want to build a mechanical Iron Man suit, you can do that. all these things have consequences. Everything you do feeds these horrible powers that exist. And every way you move, not only does it affect you and your party, but affects the world around you. It's one of the things, your group, your party is the center of action. So you're not going to be so much reading about these NPC characters who are the center of the universe and your group's just doing things places. You're important. You're going to change the world. And that's what makes Mechanika so interesting. So join us, enter the world, find things you love. There are so many different empires that emphasize everything from Western steampunk to your traditional Victorian steampunk to even Japanese versions of steampunk, that you'll be able to find something in some place that you and your group want to play. So please join us and, find something that you love in Mechanika, because I'm sure you will.